All right, YouTube. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. It's Friday the 1st. And you guys can have y'all, your little weekend, your downtime. I want to put you up on the latest news that's very important. They found another stash of migrant men housed in a basement in the Bronx. Now remember, I had told you about them being housed. It was over 74 men housed in Queens in these so-called makeshift shelters. But if they makeshift shelters, why are there no women and children? You know, just a thought. I got a word too before I start my reactions to these videos. I got a word I want my subscribers to look up. I'm gonna read the definition of it first, though. A fifth column is any group of people who undermine a larger group or nation from within, usually in favor of an enemy group or another nation. It's called a fifth column. Let me read it again. A fifth column is any group of people who undermine a larger group or nation from within, usually in favor of an enemy group or another nation. That's what a fifth column is. So, that's a little word I learned in political science. But let's check out this latest out here in the Bronx. Oh, this is for fair use since the 1976 Copyright Act. It's for commentary, educational purposes, entertainment, and I got the First Amendment right. Stand on the Constitution, freedom, First Amendment, and the Constitution, freedom of speech. Quote me right. First Amendment.
Second illegal migrant shelter has been discovered, but this time it was in the Bronx. Fox 8's Kendall Green is live at the scene in Fordham Heights. So, Kendall, what can you tell us tonight?
Hey, good evening, Natasha, Bianca. Since we've been here, we've seen several individuals going in and out of this facility, lugging their luggage, taking some personal items out of there. I'm going to step out just so you can see where this police officer is, just beyond this blue tent. That's where this shelter has been. And if you look closely, you can actually see some beds inside. But this is what we know from the Department of Buildings preliminary report so far. And inspectors were called to 305 East Kingsbridge Road after receiving reports of an illegal conversion of a two-story commercial building. Now, officials arrived to find the building had been converted into housing quarters for migrants. They went in and found 34 beds on the first floor and 11 beds in a cellar tightly packed together. Now, plenty of concerns for safety hazards as well. Inspectors on scene found extension cords, e-bikes, space heaters, and hot plates inside of the facility. And as a result, they issued a vacate order due to hazardous, life-threatening conditions, lack of natural light and ventilation, and severe overcrowding. Now, the DOB issued 2 violations for the corporate landlord, SARS Essential Palace and Juice Bar Incorporated, for failure to maintain the building and for occupying the building contrary to city records. Now, we spoke to individuals living inside who tell us that they actually paid rent to live here, $300 per month, we're told, and all to find themselves without a place to lay their heads tonight.
Living house, no house, no, nothing.
So you don't know where you're going to stay tonight?
Yes.
Now, this is the second time this week the Department of Building had to issue a vacate order. Just yesterday, the DOB issued SARS wholesale furniture in Queens to be vacated due to overcrowding and hazardous fire trap conditions. Now, city inspectors, they found the building's first floor commercial den with space in the cellar that had been converted into sleeping quarters with 14 bunk beds and 13 beds on both floors, able to fit about 40 people. Now, we're told that the Department of Buildings is, the city is actually have officials coming here to help get some of these migrants to shelters, but where they go from here still remains unknown. And as far as charges or anything, it's still unclear if the landlord of this building will face charges for housing the migrants. But that's the latest here from Fordham Heights. Kendall Green, Fox 5 News. Back to you.
I have a feeling this is not the last time we see something like this happen. Kendall, thanks so much for that. City ordering does.
Okay. That's the one in the Bronx that they just found. So I'm gonna take you back and I'm gonna show you the other one, the first one when they found him in Queens.
City ordering dozens of migrants out of the basement of a furniture store they'd been calling home for months.
All right, Fox 5's Richard Giacovis joins us live from the scene of South Richmond Hill. And Richard, the owner says he was just trying to help these folks get off on the feet.
Exactly, Steve and Natasha. That owner admits to housing up to 74 of those men from West Africa. But today they were telling me that they felt sick after this raid last night by building inspectors who forced them to vacate this building, claiming it was more than unsafe. Malik Diaye came back to his home today. SARS Wholesale Furniture has been home for Malik for the past 2 months. Last night, he slept on a subway platform.
We don't know where we sleep today.
Malik was one of at least 74 men vacated from this store last night by FDNY inspectors. He and the others staying here are all from West Africa, invited to live here by store owner Ibu Sar. Sar simply says he was trying to help these asylum seekers, allowing them to live rent-free.
Get on their feet. So that was the intention.
But the FDNY and the Department of Buildings claims this was anything but safe. In the basement of this furniture store, there were dozens of beds and bunk beds, no ventilation, no access to natural light. This cell phone video shows what it looked like one morning as the men were apparently waking up. Fire inspectors responded last night to weeks of complaints from at least one neighbor who declined to show her face on camera. She claims that e-bikes and e-batteries were being illegally stored in the building's backyard area.
All over the news, you see that these e-bikes are exploding and they lighten up the whole block. Like nobody's safety he was concerned about.
Mayor Eric Adams addressed the migrant housing crisis, calling it a desperate situation he can't fix alone.
We have to build more. And when you have a failure to have vacancy rates, I think we're down to 1%. If that failure is going to produce desperate situations.
The vacate order is still up as building inspectors were back at the furniture store today, questioning other neighbors about suspicious activity. As for Malik, all he has is his backpack and the clothes he's wearing, with nowhere to go. It may very well be another night on the subway platform. Where do you go now? Where do you go from?
We don't know. We don't know. It's very difficult.
Now, the landlord of this building has been hit with 2 violations. The furniture store is allowed to stay open, but those migrants are not allowed back here. They have been moved, we're told, to a shelter in the Bronx, but Malik tells me it's safer on the subway platform. We're live in the South Richmond Hill section of Queens. Richard Giacovis, Fox 5 News. Steve, Natasha.
Yeah, no easy answers there for sure. All right, thanks, Richard.
I got one more to show you before we talk.
Did you just get remarried? Congratulations. You've just taken one of life's finest.
Shocking discovery in Queens. Dozens of migrants found living in the basement of a furniture store. NYPD is calling the bust a citywide crime operation. Police raided a house overnight in the Bronx and arrested 3. NYPD is calling the bust a citywide crime. NYPD is calling the bust a citywide crime operation. Police raided a house overnight in the Bronx and arrested 3 suspects who they say are behind a string of pickpockets.
And police do tell us that all 3 are migrants, and the NYPD is looking to make more arrests. Eyewitness News reporter Stefan Kim live in the Allerton section of the Bronx with more. Stefan.
Well, David and Lauren, police officials call it the largest robbery spree that has been plaguing the city. For months, thieves on scooters have been snatching phones and pocketbooks out of women's hands. Overnight, police raided the suspected safe house behind me. They say the suspects are migrants from Venezuela. Take a look at this video released by the NYPD. Thieves on scooters snatching purses, pocketbooks, and phones out of women's hands all over the city. Finally, cops say they've caught the suspects.
Great job.
Police say they executed a search warrant and arrested 3 migrants in the Bronx overnight at 2970 Bronx Park East, a suspected safe house.
This department, this agency is not going to tolerate that. We will find you. Anyone that commits any act of harm against one of our New Yorkers, we're going to find you, we're going to arrest you, we're going to bring you to justice.
The suspects are expected to be charged with multiple robberies and grand larcenies. The men were linked to a pattern of at least 62 incidents of snatching. Detectives think the suspects then used those stolen phones to access the Apple Pay feature to make other purchases.
172,000 migrants, asylum seekers who are here. Overwhelmingly, many are here just want the same thing all of our families want. For those who think they're going to come to our country, break our laws, assault our cops, that was not only assault on an individual, that was assault on our system of public safety.
The behavior is horrible. They need to deport them.
Maria Ortiz says she's been living on the block for 9 years. Lately, she says, mopeds are everywhere, and crime has gotten worse.
I'm ready to move out. Yeah.
Not bad.
I'm out of here.
Now, investigators say there are still more suspects being sought. Police officials are expected to give a media briefing sometime this afternoon.
Okay, while I was watching this, I had a thought come to my mind. What we're really seeing, and we have to have terms to identify what we're seeing. So I came up with a word, and we're going to coin it here. You know what I mean, over here on this channel. And what we're going to call those when we see those type of buildings, urban compounds. Urban because they're hiding them in the city, and compounds because of how and what they're being used to facilitate and how they're operating. So, urban compounds. Now, the same guy who had the 74 migrants in the beds in Queens turns out to be the same guy that got 44 beds in the basement and 11 beds at another place, which equals 44 and 11. That's 55. So 55 men here, 55 plus men here. Over, if they saying it was 74, so we know the numbers is probably like 80. 80 men here in Queens. So how many compounds, how many urban compounds are there in New York City and throughout the country of the United States? I'm just asking on a Friday. Sending to you out of Detroit. This Detroit's HPTV. Keep y'all head on the swivel. Stay up, like, share, and subscribe. Peace.